inflation transitory shock. The four factors which I mentioned will change the medium and the long-term picture for earnings and for equity as an asset class.
I think people intuitively understand that with rising prices, which eventually are going to government has been printing, you know that the currency is going to be devalued, and with devaluation of currencies, you have rising prices. And intuitively, people realize that in order to save themselves from these rising prices, they have to be invested. Because if you invest in equities in companies that have pricing power, that can raise prices in line, they're going to be in very good shape. So that's really why you see this continuously rise in indices around the world. Interesting, if you go back 10, 20, 30 years, you can see that there's been a continuous rise, of course, with corrections. That you have rising prices of not only commodities, but also stocks.
Are likely to go higher and there is a margin of shock. Isn't there a fear of earnings downgrade getting challenged? And if that is the scenario, which is the obvious scenario looking at where inflation is headed, don't you think that will have an impact on equity in general as an
Why are they able to raise prices? Well, if they're raising prices, they've got to have consumers. And the reality is that the States right now, you'll see that wages are going up, unemployment is going down. And of course, that means that prices by companies with pricing power. So it's really interesting to realize that at the end of the day, along with the rise of commodities,
Mark, do you think India is in a very unique and a special situation? China has got their own set of problems. High. There are serious challenges in Russia that makes that market uninvestable if you're in foreign allies. Even though expensive, becomes the only choice of preference, and that will ensure that the premium in India or the premium in Indian equities
unique place. If you just look at the country itself, the population age average is what, 26? Very young population, which means you have very productive and growing demands and factories and companies. Workforce. That's number one. Number two is you've got a government that's bent on reform, on changing the mindset of emphasis on technology by the government is quite a unique thing. It's not many countries in the world that have people. So yes, I would say that India is